Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Teresa Youngstrom. This is Memory Care with Teresa Youngstrom. We're so glad you're here. Hope you're having a good week. Hope you're having a good brain week and that the people you're caring for, that things are going well. But, it's challenging and it's a bumpy season when we care for somebody living with brain change. And my goal is to keep putting out new information that may apply to you in your situation and could help you. We're all about coming alongside and helping them live their best life with this brain change. But what if we could talk about good brain maintenance? How about better brain health? We've talked a little bit about nutrition, we talked about exercise, but what if we would combine things and have an exercise that really was focused on your brain and your body? Well, I found someone that does that right here in Cincinnati, and he's expanding outside of Cincinnati. So let me tell you about my guest today, Michael Gelfgot. So, Michael Gelfgot's drive to be a different kind of health club started 20 years ago between Gelfgot and his partners. They operated 23 health clubs as part of a well known fitness franchise in the United States. Along with his team's accomplishments in 2008 Club Operators of the Year, 2013 Success Story of the Year, 2013, 16, and 18 Personal Trainer of the Year, 2015 Community Outreach Award of the Year. Michael Gelfgot was the very first personal trainer of the year back in 2012. Now, Mike and his partners are opening a first of its kind Activate Brain and Body Fitness. Activate Brain and Body Fitness aims to promote the link between exercise and brain health through dual task exercising, stress management, nutrition, and socialization. We're combining so many great things there. Gelfgot is currently a COO and has 20 plus years of experience in the health and fitness business, and he holds 10 plus nationally accredited certifications. Will you help me welcome Michael Gelfgot?
Teresa,
Hey.
thanks for having me. It's a great intro. I appreciate you doing that.
Of course, of course. And I've been to your location in the past and was impressed from the first time I walked in the door and what your team is all about and the way you train your trainers and the experience they have. But let me get to my questions because we do have quite a few.
Yeah.
What makes, maybe you could give, I gave a brief overview, but what makes Activate Brain and Body so much more unique?
Yeah, it's interesting. Especially when it comes to exercise in general, there are so many options for exercise for people. But what makes us unique, what makes us special is two things. One, we focus on the brain, and more on that. I'm sure we'll discuss more specifically what does that mean. And then the second part, what's unique about what we do is every 12 weeks, Teresa, everyone goes through a really comprehensive physical and cognitive assessment. And the idea is to figure out what's the delta, what's the change, how are you adapting to the stimulus that we're putting you through, both physically and cognitively. We know that as we get older, we're going to lose muscle. We don't have to, although most of us tend to. We
Mhm.
tend to gain more body fat. We tend to not have as good of a balance. Our proprioception, our awareness in space is off. We think a little bit slower. Maybe we're not reacting as well as we were maybe 10, 15 years ago. But all of those things that are changing can be quantified and in many cases improved, or at best slowed down in terms of its regression. And the only way you're going to really know if what your exercise program is, or if your exercise program is working, if your sleeping routine is working, if your nutritional plan is working, is you have to have some data around it. So that data for us happens every 12 weeks with our clients. It's probably one of the most critical times in our relationship with our clientele.
Gosh, that's important. So how does exercise, in your opinion, how does exercise affect the brain?
Gosh, where do I start? But let me start
Yeah.
here. First of all, I'm going to talk about it in two ways. I'm going to talk about it just from a general perspective, like what does exercise do to the brain? And then we're going to talk about more specifically, how does Activate capitalize on what's already happening in the brain while most fitness programs miss it.
Got it.
So any physical activity, when done at moderate intensity. So moderate is 60 to 70% of your max heart rate,
Mhm.
or perceived exertion, maybe 6.5 or 7. So you're breathing a little heavy,
Hmm.
but you're not running out of breath. And so when you maintain that for at least 15 to 20 minutes, the human brain begins to produce different growth factors that genuinely like enhance cognition. So like what? So things like focus, attention, reaction time, balance, decision making, learning, comprehension, those cognitive functions as a result of physical activity, they all get uptick. Now, this is any physical activity, nothing special necessarily with what we're doing at Activate. So I'll more on that here in a minute. When you do physical activity, you increase the amount of blood flow you're pumping to your brain, critical for neuronal survival in general. Here's what's interesting. Most exercise programs, although do a wonderful job in promoting blood flow, and of course, as long as we're elevating your heart rate, the growth factors get produced, whether you like it or not, it's happening. But where most exercise programs tend to miss is they don't take advantage of the growth factors, because it's not like in the middle of the workout, Teresa, most people are going to stop doing what they're doing and start to learn how to play the piano, for example, although they should, because that's when your brain is most fertile, if you will, for learning, because your brain gets upticked because of the physical activity. And that's where we come in, and that's where we capitalize. So in other words, what we'll do is we'll put you in a physical situation. We'll do strength training exercises, endurance exercises. We'll do balance exercises and agility exercises that'll elevate your heart rate. And once your heart rate is elevated, we put you in front of our different brain technology to play different brain games that may focus on attention, focus, memory, reaction time, processing speed. And every time you're playing a brain game, you're always doing some sort of a movement. It's called dual task training, right? Where your brain is genuinely splitting attention between moving and thinking. And the benefits are surreal. I mean, the benefits are better balance, better reaction time. You can improve what's called your dual task cost, which is your ability to divide attention. And if we can improve your dual task cost, dividing attention between movement and thinking, we can decrease the risk of false and slow down cognitive changes. It's fascinating.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Um, are there testimonials you can share? Because I know my audience is going to want to hear, wow,
Right.
how has this changed?
Yeah, that's a good point, right? It sounds great, but how do we know it works, right? So although I'm not able to share specific names, I will say this to you. Because every 12 weeks, um, we gather data from all of our clientele. So we're constantly sucking data, if you will, and we're taking all that information and putting it into a big database. Aggregately, as a community of Activate Brain and Body, here's what we're seeing. So from a cognitive perspective, one of the ways that we measure cognition is through an online brain health assessment. It's a clinical assessment. It doesn't diagnose anything, Teresa. It's not, it doesn't tell you how smart you are, what your IQ is. It genuinely gives you an opportunity to find out how well is my brain working whenever you take the assessment. So our clients retake that assessment every 12 weeks. So here's what's really interesting. Those individuals that have taken this assessment 12 times, and it screens your brain in 9 different ways. 4 of 9 are 4 different types of memories. So working memory, episodic memory, short-term memory, those sort of things. Here's what we're seeing. Those individuals that have taken the assessment at least 4 times, and they've been coming into our system and working out with us at least a couple times a week, their memory scores, Teresa, are trending up. I can't say to you, and no one can claim that all of a sudden they remember more. I can't say that. But
Right.
the only thing I can say to you, I have a clinical way to assess memory, and the individuals that have taken the assessment 4 times, they tend to do better in that same assessment. It's fascinating. And
That's awesome.
the likelihood of that happening by chance is like 0.0001%. So that there had to be some form of intervention as to why those scores are changing. And the most logical intervention would be because they've been coming in to see us and dual tasking for the last 12 months. That's why they're seeing that particular change. It's pretty interesting.
Well, it
Um,
makes sense because you know the endorphins you get just from working out. Because even if I don't feel like going to work out, when I leave, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I did
Yeah,
that.
it's interesting, right? So when we talk about the cognitive benefits of exercise, it's typically discussed in one of two ways. There's the mental component, right,
Hmm.
where the endorphins and the dopamine, and that's wonderful. In fact, whether you come to us and exercise or you work out on your own, you just need to exert yourself just a bit, maybe up to 60%, maintain that for 5, 10, 15 minutes. You feel amazing, right? What I'm talking about are neuroplastic changes. What I'm talking about are changes that are literally rewiring how your brain is functioning. Um, the fact that we are able to quantify some of these changes is pretty
Hmm.
fascinating. Here's another piece of evidence. So we did a study with Miami University a couple of years ago where what we wanted to find out are dual task exercises, are they really that much better versus exercise alone, meaning all you're doing is physical work like most of us do when we tend to exercise.
Mm.
And so the piece of equipment, well, there's, I guess it doesn't really matter, piece of equipment, but there's a couple of different ways we measured cognition. And what we found out was, and what the Miami study showed us is that those individuals that were doing dual task exercises, their cognitive scores were that much better at the end of the 12-week study versus exercise alone, and of course, over the control group. We are gearing up to do another research with Concordia University, St. Paul, in our Indianapolis location, which is location number 2 that's coming up, where we're going to, it's a similar study. We're going to take a look again, once again, we're going to take a look and see how our dual tasking exercises is that much better than exercise alone, right?
Yeah.
So from a cognitive perspective, that's how we know what we do works. Of course, the other part, you just have to ask some of our clients. And anecdotally, people will say to us, gosh, I feel better. I feel sharper. I feel like I'm able to task better, like switch tasks more efficiently. Because there's no such thing as we think we're multitasking, but we're not. All we're doing is we're just going from one task to another. And sometimes when we have too many tasks happening, we don't see any of those tasks to completion. And what our clients are telling us, they're able to stay more focused on one or two tasks and get those tasks done before they move on to different tasks, which is wonderful, right? It improves their self-esteem, improves their confidence. They're able to get more things done. It's pretty interesting. From a physical perspective, this is really cool. Ladies over 50, listen to this. This is fascinating. We all know that working out is incredibly important, particularly for ladies as ladies get older, because of muscular atrophy that happens more so to ladies, not always, but typically, right?
Sure.
So what we're seeing is this: the more ladies over 50 come in to work out with us, and I know it sounds so flippant obvious, but I can show you our own data because we're gathering it. The more they come to work out with us, guess what happens? They gain skeletal mass, muscle mass, and they lose subcutaneous body fat. Isn't that cool?
Believe it 100%. Yes.
And so why is that significant? Well, it's significant because you'll minimize the odds of getting osteoporosis.
Right. Broken hip. Hmm.
Broken, that's right. And if you do fall, you're just less likely to get hurt because you'll have more tissue padding, so to say,
Yes.
to minimize the injury, right?
Right.
Um,
I'm excited to hear you've done research projects because that it just so justifies what you're doing and it just makes so much sense. Is there a certain age group that you work with, or is there any limitation on the ages that you work with?
yeah, that's a really good question. The Everybody that comes to us, Teresa, they have one thing in common, and that is they're all interested in doing what they can to either keep their cognitive functioning the way it's functioning, right?
Right.
Or we have people that are taking care of someone, caring for someone with brain damage. And as part of your introduction, I like that language. And of course, they're seeing, oh my gosh, are there things that I can do so I don't end up like my, grandma or my husband
Right.
or my spouse, significant other?
Right.
So I bring that up first because we have kids that work out here, although, mom tells the kids the reason why they're here is because it's going to help them improve their soccer skills, which it will because of the nature of the programming. But that's not why they're here. They're here because we want to improve their ability to pay attention and stay focused. And dual tasking does that. And I'll give a good example here in a second. But we look for folks typically 50 and up. Now we have folks in their 20s and their 30s and their teenagers here, like I said, because a mom wants them to improve in their schoolwork. We have some younger folks that had traumatic brain injuries or MCIs, mild cognitive impairment, or in general. I just spoke to a gentleman yesterday. He is going to get started on a program, and we have a few folks like that because he played full contact sports. And so he's just intelligent enough to recognize, okay, I know that if I don't take care of my brain as much as I know I should be, my brain and my body will decline more rapidly than I would like.
I like that. Now your testing and your classes are all done on site. Is that right? You don't do online stuff.
Yeah, that's a good question. So our main program, yes, is in our facility. We have a brick and mortar facility, correct. We do have and just created Activates a virtual, but the way that we're applying it is if Teresa, if you come to me and exercise, say a couple of times a week, and let's say you have a bum hip or a bum shoulder, so we're using that Activate virtual as an additional 5-10 minutes sort of mobility sort of exercises or light lower body or conditioning sort of exercises. It's more so as an add-on, if you will, to your current program, and we literally prescribe it to you. But the bread and butter of the programming is you have to come to us and exercise.
Got it. That makes sense. Well, and it'd be difficult to do the testing virtually for sure. So, I'm thinking about, my clients, and can they bring their person who is, declining,
Yeah.
with their dementia, but as long as they're, compliant, and as long as they're willing to follow the next instruction, can they come and work out together?
Yeah, that's a big deal. I'm so glad you're bringing that up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have two different types of caregivers that bring their loved ones. Some caregivers actually participate in an exercise routine with their loved ones, which is great. That would be probably the most preferred way for us to do it,
I would
because
think so.
because
Yeah.
the individual, the loved one, they know someone else that's in a session with them working out, right? And I should mention that we exercise people in a very small group, like so 4 to 6 people.
Oh, that's good.
And it's imperative for the socialization component. It's imperative for the fun and enjoyment component. It doesn't matter how smart this is. If you're not having a good time, you're not going to come back and exercise with us, and we know that, right? I want to say this. Before anybody steps a foot into any one of our workout sessions, it's important for people to understand this, that they all get screened for their past medical history. And we take them, once again, through a really comprehensive physical and cognitive assessment. And it's basically a process of elimination for us to figure out what not to do with someone when it comes to exercise. So it doesn't matter to us if you have metal rods up and down your back. It makes no difference to me. It doesn't matter to me if you have new knees or you have any sort of orthopedic issues. The only thing that matters is if you have some sort of limitation that we know exactly what it is. And the other thing that would matter is if your physician, for whatever reason, doesn't want you to exercise, right? But other than that, we're good to go.
Right. Yeah. Because I like that they just can't walk in and start doing stuff. Because you and I have both seen people at a gym where you're paying, $20 a month, and you walk in and maybe you don't even know what the right things for your body type or right things for your issues. And, people get hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. People get hurt and people get discouraged. They don't see any results. People get demotivated, and then they stop exercising, right? So we take that to heart, right? And so that's why when you come to us, it's like at the end of the day, we're a personal training studio. We provide a service. We don't just provide access like those $20 a month facilities like you talked about, right? So when people come to us, they're guided by a coach every time they come into the workout. But to your point, absolutely, nobody just kind of walks off in the street and say, "Hey, I'd like to try a workout today." And I have no problem with somebody trying a workout, but I need to be intelligent in our approach to make sure that if I put you through a workout, I don't do things that will make things worse. I don't even know what those things may be. So I have to do my due diligence, sit down with you, discuss your goals, talk about your past medical history, talk about your exercise history, do some assessments, and then keep that in mind as we basically put together the right plan for you.
That is really great. And I know you've done training with because I've come in and talked with your trainers about how do we work with people living with brain change. That's so valuable. I just love that as a part of your company.
Oh,
What
that's
is
important. Yeah.
what is next for you guys? I mean, you have that wonderful gem already. Your location, your brick and mortar is in Montgomery Road in Cincinnati, Ohio. It is a
Right.
really great location, but I'm hearing you talk about something in another location. So what's going on? Where are you expanding to?
Yeah, our mission as a company, and you had mentioned it in my bio, and I appreciate you doing that,
Mhm.
is to promote the link
Right.
between exercise and brain health. We have to
Exactly.
educate.
And I agree
Uh,
100%,
it,
150%.
it's when yes, we're so our next goal and what we want to do is open up our Indianapolis location. The Cincinnati location has been around for going on 2.5 or so years.
Yep.
Um, Indianapolis is coming next, and once Indianapolis opens up, we got our eye open on our third location. And the goal over the next 10 years is to have no less than 10 plus locations.
Wonderful.
Um, but we have to take this out of the four walls that we have here at Activate and spread it in the community. Like the neuroscience community understands the impact that exercising has on the brain, and they talk to their patients about it. In fact, we get a ton of referrals from current neurologists,
I
and the
love that.
reason they're referring people is not just because they exercise, but also because, of course, the brain component. We combine the two, but the challenge with a neurologist or a neuroscientist, like the average individual isn't going to want to work out with a neurologist. We feel like this belongs in the health and fitness space, but you have to work with an above average trainer, right? And
Yeah.
so, anyways, yeah, there you go.
Well, it's really great that that the neurologists out there are recognizing this and the benefits that your company offers. I'm going to need to know how my company or how my audience can contact you. How can they get more information about active brain and body fitness?
Yeah. So two things. I want to add one thing to it.
Sure.
Twice a year, Teresa, we hold a medical open house for medical professionals, where
Perfect.
we invite medical professionals, physicians, whoever works in the medical industry, and we educate them on here's the data we're seeing from our own programming. Right.
Hmm.
I say that because we get quite a few physician and neurologist referrals because they trust the fact that when people come and see us, they're going to be properly handled no matter what their situation may be.
Right. And your assessments are so great.
And it's really cool. Everyone gets like a report card. And you get all sorts of charts and trends, and you can see how you're trending. It's pretty interesting. Now, how can people get a hold of us? Activatesbrainandbody.com would probably the fastest thing that you can do to get some information. And if you are in the Cincinnati market, you'll see a link there to contact the Cincinnati location or the Indianapolis location. Or the people can also shoot me an email. It's pretty straightforward. It's mike@activatebrainbody.info.
Perfect. I'll make sure that that information all hits the show notes too. Yeah, this is really great, and it's hard to believe it's been over 2 years since I first met you and heard about your location and got to come in and see it in real life. And so exciting! I'm really excited about what you're doing there. This has been needed for a long time to connect the dots on this, on our brain health with our physical health, and the fact that you include nutrition really excites me because I find so many healthcare people, physicians, they don't go for the nutrition part at all, and it's vital because I mean,
Yeah,
with the nutrition part, if my nutrition is poor, I may not even have the energy to get up and come in and see you.
yeah,
So
that's a good point. And you know this just as well as I do. Like in order to truly design a program that enhances or slows down any sort of brain, you have to have a multi-domain approach. It's not just exercise, right? It's
ever.
not just nutrition. It's not just socialization. It's really 5 components, which are all components of our program, which is
Mhm.
physical exercise, brain exercise. We just combine the two together: stress management, nutrition, and socialization. right? It's that
Yeah.
multi-domain approach that's designed to help people build cognitive reserve, which is a 30-year-old neuroscience concept that basically says this: based on how you live your life, you can build a reserve. Think of it like a bank account, sort of say that you can withdraw from as you get older to protect your brain against decline. So even though there might be some maybe structural changes in the brain, but if you build that reserve, you can circumnavigate a lot of those blockages, so to say, and never express the disease while you're alive. Right? Very
Right,
fascinating.
and I think you can just overall your general well-being and how you just feel is going to be so much better. This is a hard season with my residents. It's a hard season with my, folks that are going through a brain change, a brain decline. And so much of what you're saying and teaching could benefit them in so many ways. And to be able
Gosh,
to bring my loved one and work out together,
with them.
that makes them not feel like, you just do this, you need this.
That's right.
I think their response is better when we do that together and they feel
Well,
like,
and then Teresa, you could probably talk to the stress piece, right, that the caregiver goes through, right?
"Oh
And
my word,
so,
yes."
and it seems like in general, I think most people are wired this way. We would rather do more for someone else than we would for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Especially as a
Yeah,
caregiver,
for sure.
right?
Yeah.
But the challenge with that is, gosh, if you continue to deposit and deposit and deposit into someone else, you're going to be on empty, right? And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
but it genuinely, if you want to take good care of someone else, you've got to allocate some time and some efforts for yourself. So that's what, like, when a caregiver participates with their loved one, I mean, that's really is the best outcome. Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so I hope my audience is hearing all of this, and I want them to come see you. Those are the ones that are still in Ohio and Cincinnati. You need to go see Mike. He has a great program here. It's multifaceted, so that you're going to get education on a lot of different things and training. And how cool would it be to go in and actually get recorded and documented results that you're seeing the improvement of these things? I think your business plan is really ideal, Mike, and I think you guys are going to be really big. I love it.
Teresa, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody. I wish I had more time, but you've heard it here. Go check out Activate Brain and Body Fitness. Go online, find them, reach out to Mike. He's very personable and he would be happy to take your call and respond to your email. And so, another wonderful opportunity here at Memory Care with Teresa Youngstrom. I hope that you will like, share, and subscribe because more people need to hear this information. And we're just excited we can keep tapping into different resources for you. That is our goal. How can we come alongside? How can we join you on the journey and keep supporting you so you remember that you got this?